Hey, Shalom, Mashal. I want to start off souls by giving no praise to Yahweh, Hashem, Yahushua, Hashem, Makak, that belongs to the apostles of GMS and honesty, brothers doing the work in truth while sincerity. This is a quick one. Once again, this is just a rebuke of Netflix, right? Another tool of the new world order. That's just a joke. But in that joke, however, there is elements of truth, right? Because I was watching it was just fluff. Woman watches, you will be with woman, she's watching fluff. And I was watching, observing, what was going on. It was a what do you call it? A TV show from the East, right? And it was basically how Esau in this, well, in the Netflix, end of the day, it says Esau funded whatever, what have you. Doesn't matter if the film or the TV show is made out there. It is got that Edomite money behind it. But all in the film, they're pushing all this, woman worship, and in the program rather, they was pushing that in there, right? Whereas in British and American and Netflix, what are they pushing? Homosexuality, black Jakes, homosexuals at that, right? Now, this is just, but in fact, maybe that statement wasn't so much of a joke, right? The fact that Netflix is a tool of the elites, right? Because these people are easily manipulated, right? So it says Habakkuk 2:5 says, yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, right? That's those philosophies, right? You read, and we'll get it, right? You read Isaiah 20, some I forget exactly where it is. Let's get it. Let's get it. It's Isaiah 29:9. It says, stay yourselves and wonder, cry ye out and cry. They are drunken, but not with wine. They stagger, but not with strong drink, right? So basically, when you're saying someone's drunk, someone's staggering, whatever, what have you, and this is where you got to, be spiritual. Because sometimes it might be speaking about wine as in the stuff you drink, right? But in this instance, it's talking about, philosophies, right? That's why it says they're drunken, but not with wine, right? So wine represents philosophies also, right? It says he is a proud man, right? It says he's referring to Esau, the so-called white man, right? It says, and neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desires hell, and desires death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. Right now, I get this one, because this bit about gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. Right, that is one thing that the elites have basically done. They've built these metropolises where you get what do you call it? Where you get people from all over the world mixing and mingling, right? So it's good, that's why he wants what do you call it? These rich Arabs and these rich Chinese coming over here to the UK, to America, right? Because what they're gonna do, they're gonna pick up the influences of, especially if they, these rich motherfuckers have, excuse my French, these rich heathens come over here and, have children, right? And their children grow up here. What are their children gonna do if, say, they go back home, right? And let's say they've got friends back home, but what they're gonna do, they're gonna start exporting those philosophies to their friends back home, right? So maybe let's say you got two Arabs, right? Two Ishmaelites. Let's call them what they're really. Let's say you got two Ishmaelites. One come to the west, right? And the other stays back home, right? The one that is in the west, he's gonna be telling his friend, or she's gonna be telling her friend, right? Oh yeah, hey, we do it differently over here. Here you can do this. Here you can do that. Right? And the friend back home is gonna be like, rah, okay, but here we can't do that, right? Why? Because everyone wants to, to indulge in their wickedness openly, right? So then what do you, what's happening there? That's basically exporting that wickedness, from one country to another country, right? But also in his movies, in his TV shows, right, it's glorifying, the West and whatever, what have you. And what's that going to make people do? It's going to make people want to come here, right? Want to come to these nations, right? And you know, certain visa policies make it easier for the people in certain countries in the East, right, to come to the West, right? And once again, when their visa is up, they go back home, right? And then they tell all their people what they found, right? In certain, what you call it, for instance, abortion in certain parts of the East, right? In place you wouldn't even, you know, consider, for instance, Korea, where it's only recently that it's become, what do you call it? It's not yet legalized, but it's on the way to being legalized, right? And that's in 2019, right? But what was that? That was that force from the East, from the West, basically moving over there, you know, and you know, so things that these people watching on Netflix, you know, watching in Hollywood films and whatever, what have you, right? So I jump down to verse 15. It says, woe unto him that giveth his neighbor drink. Once again, this is referring to philosophies, right? It says that puttest thy bottle to him and makest him drunken also, right? So it is, you know, Esau's got all of these philosophies and he's basically forcing them out down other people's throats, right? He's basically saying, yo, you got to do it this way or you got to do it that way, right? And then, you know, the people, you know, it really aims it at the women, right? Because Esau's the perfect devil, right? He's basically made the men simps, right? He's put women over men, right? And made the men simps. So then what do you see? You basically have a world where he can attack the women, right? As in not physically attack, but attack the women in terms of philosophy, right? And because the men are simps, they all go along with what the women say, right? And which is why you gotta give, you know, the Lord a round of applause. He created the perfect devil, right? But that's what he's done, right? He spread his wickedness throughout the world, and you know, these people, everyone, you know, even us before we were cleansed by this word, we were victims of this man's witchcraft, because that's what it is, right? So Psalm 64:2 says, hide me from the secret council. Now, what's the example of a secret council? The Illuminati, right? So what this is referring to, right? It's a council and it's secret, right? It says of the wicked. It says from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity, right? So once again, it's talking about these elites, right? These, you know, Rothschilds and all the people that run this world, that have been given the power over this world, right? Lord, here was basically is being said is hide me from them, right? Protect me from them, right? And their ways, right? Because part of their ways is to basically infiltrate your mind and, you know, control what it is that you you know, that you what's the word I'm looking for? What you think, right? What you see, what you say, right? Micah 2:1, watch the same. It says, woe to them that devise iniquity, and that means destruction, right? And putting things in what would otherwise seem like light-hearted television, right? That's really witchcraft, right? The Lord, you're going to be destroyed for that, right? All you executives at Netflix pushing that homosexual agenda on our people, right? You're going to be, what you call it? You're going to be judged for that, right? You might think, yeah, I'm just going to make two so-called black men kiss, right? Yeah, because these black men, they don't like homosexuals, so I'm going to put it in a TV show, right? Okay, cool. You do that. Yeah, and the jakes that, you know, that do that, you know, that delve into homosexuality, they go and, they go and get their just desserts, you know, lest they repent, right? But you ain't going to go unpunished. Right? Once again, this is what I'm talking about. This is that secret council, right? And then when basically they say, oh yeah, look at your people. When Jake starts going off, then they're like, oh, look at your people, right? They're going off, which I believe this is what verse 4 is speaking about. And that's the perfect That's all. I mean, it's a bit propaganda, but if I'm not mistaken, if I forget the breakdown, I have to go over it in my head, right? But verse 3 says, who wet their tongues like a sword. What's this word wet? To point, intensely pierce, figurative, and inculate, prick, right? So it's to sharpen, wet, right? Who wet their tongue like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words, right? So that's what it says. That's Esau's propaganda, which he pushes in that, in those TV shows, right? In those Netflixes and that Hollywood, right? But really, it's right now. It's aimed at Netflix because the amount of homosexual shit that Netflix has, pushing that agenda, right, for Esau, right. It says, woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand. Because the Lord gave the power of the earth into Esau's hand, right. That's why Esau's just going around doing all manner of wickedness throughout the earth, right. This is Revelation 18:3. It's for all nations, right? And that is the truth. That is of a truth. All nations, right? You go to, like I said, you speak to people from places where you wouldn't even think that their women will buck up, and their woman will buck up at you, right? Right, because ultimately Esau has his paws all over, and the Netflix, that is an example, right? So for all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. Right, once again, that wine is referencing her philosophies, right? It says, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies, right? But yeah, that's all I had. That's all I really was gonna go into, right? So you execs at Netflix, man. All you guys that go into the TV shows, that actors and actresses that are helping further Esau's agenda, the Lord is gonna judge you, right? The Lord is not mocked. For whatsoever man soweth, that shall he reap, right? So yeah, man, and that's why bros. We're not saying I don't watch Netflix. Of course, I watch Netflix, right? But we're aware of what's going on. We're aware that Esau's pushing this agenda. Scriptures talk about we're not something Satan's devices. What the hell does that go again? It says 2 Corinthians 2:11 says, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. Yeah, we're not ignorant what this man's trying to do, right? But the rest of these other people are, and that's why they fall for it, right? So yeah, as always, Lord's word was edifying. Till the next time, Shalom.